Hello, welcome to High-Tech Fiberglass Part 1. My name is Robert Garza, and what I'm going to show you today is how to make a fiberglass enclosure in less than 4 hours. I'm also going to show you how to make a trumpeted baffle board. This video came with a list of materials and also a mixing chart. Please have those with you so you can review the instructions. For the first demonstration, I'm going to have an ordinary oil pan. This is going to simulate the spare tire well. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay a fiberglass enclosure in that tire well, cover it with a piece of wood, and sink in the subwoofers. What this will do for you is it will give you your entire trunk space. You won't have to give up your trunk space so you don't have any storage for the customer. You can show this to the customer and make some good money with it. The first material I'm going to show you is the fiberglass mat. There are many different types of fiberglass mat. One of them is the 1.5 ounce chop mat. This is the one that's most widely used because it's the least expensive. But as you can see, it falls apart fairly easy. Okay? The second type of mat that's most widely used is the woven mat. This is a 24 ounce mat material. It's very strong, a little more difficult to use. You don't want this coming unraveled when you're working on your mold, but it's also a very good product. If you're going to make something that you really need a lot of strength with, that's a great product to use. The product that I prefer is the stitched mat. It's the best of both worlds. It's 12 ounces and it's stitched together. It does not fall apart at all. And it goes into real nice curves and crevices without falling apart. You can brush it with a brush with the resin on it. It will never fall apart on you. And that's the product we're going to use. Okay, so let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do with the wheel well is you're going to want to measure the wheel well. You're going to want to check the draft angle on the wheel well. Draft angles are very, very important. If the draft angle is bad, you won't be able to remove the mold from the car. I made a little sample of a draft angle to show you. Basically what I did here is I just took an ordinary cup and I laid fiberglass inside of it. A good draft angle means that you'll be able to remove the cup from the enclosure. You'll be able to remove the enclosure out of the cup. A bad draft angle would mean you'd laid resin into an enclosure like this and you can't get it out. Bad draft angle, good draft angle. You want to make sure that you can get it out. Luckily for us, in an automobile, most of the spare tires are stamped, and if they're stamped with a good draft angle so the tool can come out of it. The oil pan has a natural good draft angle. As you can see the curve here, it will release the mold without a problem. Now the first thing we need to do with the car after we've established that the draft angles are good, we've covered any other crevices that we don't want, we need to lubricate it or cover the enclosure. We can do that in a couple different ways. This is one way. This is polyvinyl alcohol. It's called PVA. And what that product is it's alcohol and plastic in a liquid form. What you can do with this product is you spray it on the material and the alcohol evaporates, leaving you a polyvinyl film over the car. And once you lay the resin on that, the product will not melt. It will give you a nice barrier, what they call the release agent. Another way you can do it is you can use mold release wax, which is the most widely used. It's very inexpensive and very easy to use. I'm going to show you one other way of doing it that's still in a prototype stage, but this is a mold release film. And we may have that ready for you very shortly. And what this film will allow you to do is it will allow you to lay this film on any area you want to do a fiberglass enclosure, whether it be a kick panel, a door panel, a subwoofer enclosure, and you won't have to use rolls and rolls of tape to lay in the enclosure and then wax it and then lay your fiberglass resin. All you'll have to do with this product is lay it in the enclosure, tape it down, and then put your resin and your fiberglass mat in there. But for this demonstration, since I have a plastic oil pan, the resin naturally won't stick to plastic. Some plastic is real rough, it will get a good grasp on it. So what we're going to use is we're going to use the mold release wax. Dead air, dead air. What we're going to do with the mold release wax is we're going to take just an ordinary paper towel, take some of the wax, and we're going to want to wax the wheel well completely. All you want to do is rub it on. It's not like waxing a car. You're not going to rub it on and rub it off. This is designed primarily for fiberglass resin. You want to make sure you get all the edges, the entire bottom. Make sure you got a real good coat on there. Okay. Our next step is what we need to do is we want to cut the three materials that are going to make the fiberglass enclosure. We're going to have 2 layers of fiberglass mat and 1 layer of filler. I haven't told you about the filler yet. This is what's going to cut your time down. This is their newest product. It's 4 millimeters thick, and it makes your enclosure twice as strong. What we want to do with this product is lay it into the spare tire well and trim it, kind of like a flower, so that it fits inside the product. You don't want to overlap this product. What you're going to want to do is join the pieces side by side, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. What you're going to want to do is trim in from the outside. And what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to push in the center and then trim the corners so that it lays in the spare tire well without overlapping. This product is very awesome. When I first found it, I couldn't believe how easily it was to work with and how strong it makes your enclosure. Okay, so there we have it. Looks like a cool flower. So what we're going to do now is push it into our simulated spare tire well, making sure that we get into all the corners. And as you can see, we're going to have some overlapping. What we want to do is just cut this edge right here, and what this edge will do for us is bring them right together without having any gaps or any overlaps. What we want to do here is we want to follow the scissors right down to the end of the cut. And what this will do for us is it'll give us a real nice seam between the 2 pieces. You're going to take this piece out, take that piece out, and gives us a nice seam there. You're going to want that all the way around the spare tire well. What you can also do with this product is you can lay extra strips. If you have a very large enclosure you're making, you can take little strips, 2-inch strips like this, and you can lay them in certain areas if you want extra strength. This will again double the strength everywhere you put one of these. You can even do 4 or 5 different layers of fiberglass mat and get it something really strong, something that won't vibrate at all for you SPL junkies. Okay, so once we have this done, we're going to want to trim the excess. When you're making a spare tire well, you're going to want to have, say, 3 to 4 inches overlay so you can mount the baffle board to the top of it. So we're going to trim these all the way around. Okay. Now we have that piece ready. We're going to set that piece aside. Because what we want to do is we want to cut all 3 products and get them ready before we use any fiberglass resin. You're going to love this stuff. Watch how easily it pushes in, and it lays in there beautifully. Takes very little effort. We're going to have to trim this piece on just 4 different corners. It will lay in there real nice. Now with the fiberglass mat, you can let that overlap without having any problem at all. Okay, you see how that lays in there real nice? I'm going to trim this side here. That lays in there real nice. Let me give it one more little relief over here. So it lays in there perfectly. Okay, now we're going to want to take that one out and do the second layer, just so we have them all ready. Push them in. The creases will create themselves telling you right where you need some release. Okay, our next step is we need to mix the fiberglass resin. I always recommend mixing fiberglass resin properly. You want to use the proper tools to do it. Stop using those cups from the fast food stores. Spend $1 and get a measuring cup that has milliliters on it. How many fiberglass enclosures have you made and the fiberglass didn't harden? Well, it might have been because you measured it wrong. I'm sure a lot of you use too much hardener and then it turns rubbery or gets brittle and breaks. This makes sure that you make no mistakes at all. This is the other item you must have. This is an MEK dispenser. It's a squeeze bottle with cc's in the top of it. It's very simple math. You got milliliters and cc's. 1% of 1,000 milliliters is 10 cc's, so that's a 1%. That's the normal mixing ratio. You can go 1.5% or even 2% if you want it to harden very quickly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up some fiberglass resin. I never recommend that you mix up more than 1,000 milliliters at a time. That'll be this container completely filled. That's a little over a quart. For this demonstration, I'm only going to mix up 500 milliliters. Okay. I also want you all to be aware of inexpensive, cheap fiberglass. Okay, if you're going down to the corner store, going down to the hardware store, and you're buying fiberglass for $10 a gallon, and it doesn't harden, and you asked for that. Okay, buy a high-strength polyester resin. You want to make sure that the polyester resin isn't over 90 days old. Once it gets over 90 days, it may not harden at all, or it may take a week to harden. Same with the hardener itself. Both of these products only have a 90-day shelf life. When you get the products from us, it'll have a date right on the can telling you how old it is. So if it's sitting around your workshop for more than 3 months, you just got to throw it out and start over. Okay, so we have our 500 milliliters of resin. And for this demonstration, I'm going to use 2%. I like to mix it a little hot. You never want to get over 3%. Once you get over 3%, it'll turn rubbery and won't get real strong. So what we're going to do here is we're going to mix up. See, we had 500 milliliters, 1% would be 5 cc's, 2% will be 10 cc's. So we're going to squeeze our bottle, bring the MEK up to 10 cc's, pour it in. This will give you about 20 minutes to 30 minutes of working time before the fiberglass resin starts to gel. It will take about an hour to 3 hours to harden. And that will all depend on the room temperature and the climate. If it's real humid outside, it will take a little longer. If you are all in a colder climate where it's 60, 50 degrees outside or in your bay, what you're going to want to do is heat up the resin before you add the hardener. Get the resin up to 80 degrees and it will harden in a reasonable amount of time. Instead of just dumping hardener in it, you're better off bringing the resin up to an operating temperature. So we're mixing up our resin. What we're going to do is get the first layer of mat good and soaked down. We want to make sure we get all the air holes out of it, all the air bubbles, and we're going to use a brush and a roller to do that. So that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour around the edge of the enclosure because that's the hardest part to soak. We want to make sure that we get that completely soaked. It's a little tougher to turn the car. It's a little easier to turn this oil pan. So you'll have to get in there. So we got all 500 milliliters in there. What we're going to want to do now is bring the brush, and obviously the resin is just going to fall down the sides and go right into the bottom. So what we need to do is brush that back up onto the sides until we get the sides completely soaked. Another great item that you must have is a fiberglass roller. I know not a lot of you have one of these. Give us a call, let us get you one of them. It's a lifesaver. It's specially designed for removing air holes. If any of you ever had a problem getting air holes out of fiberglass, this is the tool to do it. It's aluminum, it has little teeth on it, and it pushes the air right out of there. And what I'm going to do is go around the enclosure and just roll it, and as you can see, the air bubbles instantly disappear. Pushes them right through the fiberglass mat and gets all the resin all the way soaked in. Okay, just finishing up here, making sure everything's nice and soaked down. As you can see, I have plenty of material left in the bottom, and that's fine because the next product to go in is going to be the 4mm filler, and that will just soak all that resin right up. Keeping in mind we still have about a half an hour to work with the product. Want to make sure you get all the edges. This stitched mat didn't fall apart on me at all. There's nothing on the brush. I'm not pushing fiberglass mat from one end to the other. The product is excellent. Okay. Next in is going to be the 4mm filler that we already cut and trimmed and is ready to go. It's porous, so the resin will soak right through to the next layer of fiberglass mat. What we're going to do with this is push it right into place, tacking it all the way around in the corners. Okay, we have the 4mm filler in place, as you can see. Next thing we're going to want to do is put in the next layer of fiberglass mat. Of course, it's pre-cut and ready to go. We're going to lay this right in there. Notice that we didn't put any resin right on the 4mm filler. We're going to do the resin on top of the second layer of mat. It will easily soak through the first layer of mat and right to the filler, and it'll even soak through to the first layer of mat we laid inside the enclosure. This will give us an overall thickness of about 1/4 of an inch, but it'll be as strong as if you laid 5 layers of mat or 1/2 of an inch of mat and resin. And that, as we all know, takes about a week to do, or at least 4 or 5 days. You'll be able to lay one of these up in one day, send your customer home the same day or the next day. Okay. That's looking good. Got the bottom all nice and tacked in. Gonna roll the corners. The corners will stand up a little bit until you get some fiberglass resin on them. Once you get the resin on them, they'll lay down nicely for you. We're gonna mix up 500 milliliters of resin again. Bring it right to the 500 milliliter line. Makes for perfect mixing, perfect hardening. And again, we're going to go with 2%. That's what I usually like to use, so 10 cc's. Okay. Wish you could be here to smell this. It's beautiful. We're going to use the same procedure as with the first layer. We're going to do the edges first. It's going to obviously fall into the center, but we don't want to put too much resin in on this pass. We don't want a nice big puddle in the bottom. So we're going to take it slow. We're going to first pour around the edges and only use as much as we need to. Okay, see, I got a nice little puddle going on in here already, but none of the mat is soaked through, so we're going to brush that up. Get the mat nice and soaked. As you can see, the mat's laying down nicely now once I got some resin on it. Getting the camera guys high, by the way. Okay, I'm just making sure that we have all the air bubbles out. Taking the brush, punching the walls, taking a look for air bubbles. You will not believe the strength of this mold once we get it out of here, but after we do something else, I'm going to show you how to make a baffle board, a trumpeted baffle board. Once we've done that, we'll come back to this and I'll show you how hard it is, how strong it is, and how to make the wooden baffle board for the top. And you can make your own wheel well enclosure. Okay. Cut. The next project I'm going to show you is how to make a subwoofer baffle enclosure. What this will do is it'll trumpet the shape around a woofer, where what you can do is you can trim the car and sink the woofers into the spare tire well and have a very nice trumpet coming out of the spare tire well. It has a very big impact. You can use this technique for making anything, door panels, kick panels, even entire rear decks, where you're going to sink in some speakers, paint it, wrap it in vinyl, use cloth, whatever you want to do. This is a project that I'm going to be showing you. It usually takes an entire day. We're going to do it here in about 45 minutes, or we're going to give it our best shot. First thing you want to do is you want to make your trim panel. This trim panel is going to match the outside of the car, where you would usually use a beauty board where you have your amplifiers and your speakers mounted. Just envision this being the outside of, say, a Camaro, the back of a Camaro, and then below it you're going to have your speakers, and you're going to have a real nice trumpet shape, fiberglass, showing the speaker have a very big impact. Here are some photos of some installations that I've taken of this technique and the impact that it has on the car stereo installation. Okay, so we have our trim board made, and what we did here is we routed the edge, make it real nice and smooth. Okay, on the base or the baffle board itself, this is what's actually going to hold the speakers. What I've done is I've taken a rabbet bit and countersunk the speakers. This is our rabbet bit here, and it has a nice bearing on the bottom of it. It comes with 5 different bearings, and what this will allow you to do is it'll allow you to countersink the woofer, all depending on the style of woofer you're using. You can go from 3/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch. And what you're going to want to do once you have the mold put together is you're going to want to staple our mold fabric on this inside lip here. So this crevice or this rabbet is very important. Okay, what we're going to want to do now is mount these two together. And obviously we could just mount them just like that, but that really wouldn't give us much shape. We can tilt this trim board any way you want, and we'll give you a different trumpet or a different shape. You can space it farther away, keep it close together. What I've made is I've cut out a couple blocks in different thicknesses. You usually want to have 4 of them. And what you want to do with these is wood glue and staple them in place. These are the 2-inch blocks that I cut, and I'll show you what that's going to do for us. It goes out of your way. Okay, so if we had those in that position here, and we wood glued and screwed or stapled the trim board, we would have a real nice trumpet angle, something like this, all the way around. Okay, using any standard method would take you forever or be impossible. This new product called our mold fabric will make it real nice and easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this together with some wood glue, and then we'll staple it together. As we all know, the wood glue is the strength of the 2 pieces of wood glued together. The staple is just to hold it in place until it's dry. You want to have enough support for the trim panel so that when you're wrapping the mold fabric on it, that it doesn't flex, it doesn't move out of shape. So you can use as many supports as you want because you're not going to see them anyway. Okay. So then what we're going to do here is mount the trim board right on top. We would staple that in place, let it dry for about an hour, and it'll be ready to wrap. I have one already made, so we can move right into that step. Here's the same piece, has a 3-inch support on it. It's the same exact piece I just showed you. Has the rabbet on the inside, has the rounded corners. What we're going to do with this product is we're going to move into step 2, which is wrapping it with the mold fabric. This is our mold fabric. This is 100% polyester. It's 1/4 of an inch thick, and it's very stretchable. That's what you can do with this stuff. You can wrap anything, okay? What I've done is I've cut a piece of the mold fabric that's large enough to cover the mold that I'm working on. I have a little excess. It's better to cut too large of a piece and too small of a piece, so if you get into it and you run out of room, you got to start all over. So I usually recommend cut a big enough size piece so you know you won't run out. Now you want to remember that we're going to be stapling this on the inside. We obviously don't want to have all these wrinkles, so we're going to have to pull it nice and tight. This is the staple gun of all staple guns. It's one of ours. It shoots 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch staples. And we're going to use 1/4 inch for this application. If you're using a product like Masonite that's very thin, you can use the 1/8 inch staples. And what we're going to want to do is make sure that we have enough distance, have the piece centered, and then start from the center, staple the center. What you always want to do is you want to remember that if you're working on a piece like this, you want to look ahead, slightly ahead, and say, okay, well, if I staple this down, can I stretch this part out, and will I be able to get these wrinkles out? If not, you need to slow down a little bit, maybe pull a little tighter, and go from there. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to staple just one side here in the center, and we'll go forward from there. So where I am stapling, so you can see, is I'm stapling right on the inside of this rabbet. Okay, and we're going to want to put staples all the way around that. Okay, so what I have here is I've stapled in 2 half circles. And as you can see, we're going to have a few little ripples here and here, but don't worry because you can pull them tight from the outside. Okay, you're always going to be wanting to work from the center of every piece of material you're working on. Okay. Once we have those 2 center pieces stapled down, what we're going to want to do is continue around the circle, not really to worry about the tension on the circle itself, but just to tack it all the way in. So I'm going to do that real quick. What I'm doing is I'm using my thumb to pull the material tight as I'm stapling. Okay, and do the other one. Okay, you want to make sure that the staples are side by side, and it will give you this real nice curve. Okay, if you don't put staples side by side, you'll have some loose pieces, and it'll be sticking up like bumps, and you'll be sanding forever. So you want to make sure it's nice and tight all the way around here, because that's where the speaker is going to mount. As you can see, if I push in here, you can see the shoulder where the speaker is going to mount, where we rabbited the wood. Okay. Our next step is to pull the center here, make sure we get all the wrinkles out in here. So we're going to pull that nice and tight. Don't really need to pull this product too tight, but you want to make sure that it's tight enough that once you soak it with resin, it won't sag. But you don't need to pull it too tight so you thin it out. So we're going to pull it nice and tight. We're going to tack on a few staples from the back. We're going to pull the other center. Tack on a few staples here. Now we're coming to the other center of the circle, pulling this tight. The corners are going to be the toughest. I always like to do those last. You want to pull those the tightest and double staple the corners. Okay, pulling that nice and tight. You can see it's starting to take shape. To show you what our end result will be. Okay, so as you can see, we still have a few wrinkles here, but we have all of our centers nice and tight. And now we're going to start on the corners. We'll do this corner first. And as you can see, if I just pull it, it stretches real nice. All the wrinkles come right out of it. On to the next corner. Pull it nice and tight. And the very corner I like to double staple because that's where most of the stress on the fabric is going to be. So you can see we got a real nice shape there. It's not too tight, but it's tight enough. Okay. Do the other side and we'll be ready to move on. Juan Colau is here, everybody. He is our fiberglass specialist. You always want to take a look and make sure you're not going to staple it with a big wrinkle in it. You'll have to pull it all apart and restaple it, which you can do with this fabric. So if you staple it and really screw it up, not to worry. You just pull the staples out and put it into position and restaple it down. Okay, and there we have it. Okay, as you can see, real nice curve, no wrinkles. It's going to be a perfect baffle board. With this technique, you can make anything. You can make a door panel, you can make an entire rear deck. This procedure, basically all you need to do is make something underneath it. You can use circles for mounting the actual speakers. You can make some wild shapes, teardrops, whatever you want to do. Wrap it in this product, soak it down with resin, you're going to have a plastic mold. And I'll show you what to do with that once we get to that point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just trim off the excess. Makes it much easier to work with. Okay, and let me get that all out of the way. We're ready to move to the next step, which is soaking it down with resin. This particular product will soak up a lot more resin than you're used to. So you may want to mix a little extra. Don't forget your gloves. I know not many of you wear them, but I kind of don't like to have my hands sticky for weeks. Okay. So we're going to mix up the fiberglass resin. We're going to mix up about 500 milliliters, and we're going to harden it with 2% of MEK using our MEK dispenser. 1% of 500 milliliters is 5%. I like to use 2%. My buddy Juan says don't use over 3% or else it'll turn rubbery, as I told you before. There you go, now you're famous. Okay, we got 10%. Gonna pour it in. Stir it up real good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour on the resin right on the mold, starting at the tops and the sides, because those are the hardest parts to soak. And then brushing it up from the bottom to make sure we get everything nice and soaked. Now what's nice about this mold fabric, as you can see, it's turning a much darker color when the resin is soaked into it. And what you want to make sure is that you don't have any air holes or air pockets. Now, depending on the mold you're making, you might not have to do the outside of the mold. As you can see, I'm not letting much fiberglass on the outside out here because we really don't need that. We're mainly concerned with the tops and the inside because this is a baffle board, and what this is going to do is it's going to mount onto the top of your enclosure. Okay, we're going to have to mix up some more fiberglass resin. Looks like we got a few air holes here and there. This mold fabric just sucks it up like a sponge. And as you can see, we got most of it fairly well soaked down. I think I'll mix up just another 250 milliliters. Okay. Now what we're going to do now, since we have most of it complete, or we just need a little bit, is we're just going to brush it on in the spots that we need it and soak those spots instead of just pouring it on there. We can just brush it onto the spots, brush it on real nice and heavy so that you fill the entire mold fabric with the resin. We don't have any air holes. And what this resin will do is it'll soak right through the mold fabric and grab right onto that wood. And it will never come apart. It'll be real nice and strong. Once that dries, you're going to have a real nice plastic mold. And once we bring it from this point, we'll fill it and we'll wrap it in vinyl, we'll paint it. I'm going to show you how to do all that. It's going to be beautiful. Put our brush in the acetone, and there we go. In about an hour to 3 hours gel time, it'll be rock hard. And of course, I have that one already done for you. I'm going to put that one aside, and we're going to bring out the next piece. There it is, hour to 3 hours later. Rock hard. Still has a certain texture to it. As you can see, it's a real rough texture. If you were to just take sandpaper to that, it would probably take you a week to get a real nice smooth surface out of it. But what we have is we have a polyfill, a spray polyfill. It's a lot like a Bondo type product or a body fill product. And we're going to spray that right on this material, and it will fill all these uneven surfaces, and it'll give us a nice 1/8 of an inch of material to sand and break down and get real nice and smooth. Our next step is to cut out the circles for the woofer holes. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use our die grinder. The die grinder has a bit on the end of it, also has a smooth part, as you all know. And we're going to use that as our guide, and we're going to use the smooth part right on the wood here. We're going to bring the die grinder right around and cut out that center. Okay, so here we go. Okay, all set. Got our holes cut out. Perfect. Now we're ready to sand. What we're going to want to do is sand the mold fabric down with about 80 grit, just to flatten the real tall peaks of the fabric that's still sticking up, and also give the spray polyester something to really hold on to. So I'm going to grab our sandpaper here. Take this down. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do the whole entire piece just like that. You can even feel it. It's much smoother than the piece with just the raw resin on it. Okay, in about 5 minutes, you're all set. It's nice and smooth all the way around. You don't have any real peaks sticking up. And the next step is ready to go. We have the spray-on polyester that will stick to this material and fill in all those crevices. We are ready to spray on our spray polyester. This is our mold that we've hardened, as I showed you before. What we're going to do is shake up our spray-on polyester real well. This product has a tendency to settle in the bottom of the can. So what you want to do is shake this up for a few minutes. I pre-shook this before we started, so I'm just going to shake it up again. But you want to make sure that you get all the sediment out of the bottom and get the material shooken up real well. Okay, put on our safety glasses. This product is a little more dangerous than resin, so you want to take some extra precautions. Okay. No glove, no love, they say. With the spray-on polyester, we're going to want to use 4% hardener. Okay, most fiberglass resins 1.5%. With this product, you want to use 4%. I wouldn't go over 4%. 3 to 4% will be plenty, and this will give you the same-day cure. It'll give you a cure time of about 1 to 3 hours. And for this application, we're going to be using a spray gun. We're going to be using 500 milliliters of the spray-on polyester. This product is a brand new product for us, so I don't have labels for the cans yet, so you have to bear with us. But we'll have them shortly. Okay. So we have 500 milliliters. 1% of the 500 milliliters will be 5 cc's, 2% will be 10. So we go 4%, we're going to need 20 cc's. Okay. Pour that in there. Stir it up real good. That's about a half of a quart. That's really too much material for this small project that I'm doing, but I imagine most of the projects that you're going to be working on are going to be a little larger. But for any application, you really only need about a pint of the material. It's nice and soupy. It's spray grade. It's like shooting water, so it's very easy to work with. Okay. Now we have it mixed. We're going to put it in our spray gun. Okay. I'm going to lock it down. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to spray a light coat on and let it flash. We just want to pretty much dust it over, get one coat on it. You'll see how heavy I put it on. We're going to let it flash for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to put our second coat on. Okay, that's our first coat. We're going to let that sit there for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll put our second coat on. This product's really nice. You have about 20 to 30 minutes when the product's in the can before it'll catalyze. Once you spray it out and its solvent evaporates, the product will cure much faster. So you have plenty of time in the spray gun, so you really don't have to worry about ruining your spray gun, but you don't want to leave it in there for more than half an hour. So we're going to let this sit here for 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, we're ready to spray on our second coat. As you can see, it's glazed over a little bit. Basically what that does is it lets the product get inside, give us a nice film to spray on. What we want to do with our second coat is we're going to really want to go on pretty heavy. Not too heavy. What you'll notice from the product is it'll run kind of like water. So you're going to want to spray it on and go into it easy. Put a little on at a time until you get the thickness that you want. You're going to want to go, as thick as you can without making it look like total hell. So here we go. Okay, looks like we got a nice second coat on there. Looks fairly thick. And we'll be ready to sand that down in about 1 hour to 3 hours. Okay, we have our piece ready. We've got the spray-on polyester catalyzed, hardened, whatever you want to call it. It's ready to sand. We'll have to figure out the right way to say it one of these days. Put on our gloves. What I found out after doing this class is I found out if you wear rubber gloves, you don't wear through your hands when you're sanding. So that's why I'm wearing rubber gloves for this. As you can see, our piece is nicely coated with the spray-on polyester, the Bondo type material. It's nice and hard, and it's ready to sand. I have another piece here that I've already started working on to save us some time. And this piece here, as you can see on this side, has been taken down with 40 grit. This piece here hasn't been touched at all, and I wanted to show you how easy it is to work with this product. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this side down over here and show you how easy it is to work with. Okay, what you're looking for is you're looking for the dark spots on the mold, and what you need to do is bring the entire surface down so you don't have any more of those dark spots. With this 40 grit sandpaper, it goes real quick. It's kind of like having a rasp in your hand. When you're working on a flat surface and you have a rasp, the Bondo type material will come off real quick. But since we're working on a curved piece or some crazy shaped piece, you need to use sandpaper. So what you want to do is get yourself a whole host of sandpapers. We have 40, I have 60, 80, 100, 150. We need to go through all those steps to make it perfect, to make it nice and smooth. Okay. As you can see, we've gotten through a lot of the material, and we're getting a real nice smooth surface. This side here I've already completely done in 40 grit. As you can see, there's no little holes where you can see the material through it, so it's nice and smooth. The next step on that side is you want to go to 60. And what 60 will do is 60 will remove the sand scratches from the 40. And then once you're done with the 60, then you do the 80 and so on. What you're looking for here is you're looking for these dark scratches that the 40 grit sandpaper put into the product, and you want to sand until you get all those out. Okay. I'm not going to bore you with sanding all of it, but trust me when I tell you, it will take you a few hours. This is where it really counts, where you want to put in your time. The more time you put into sanding it, the better the product's going to look. Okay? I have another piece here where I went from the 40, the 60, the 80. This is 100, okay? This is 150. You can really see that it's starting to take shape here. You can see that it's real nice and smooth. You can see some imperfections here where you see the first coat is coming through the second coat. You can even see where I broke through and have the resin showing through. But it's nice and smooth. There's nothing to worry about. Once you put on the primer will fill all of that. So you can see it's real nice and smooth here, okay? Once you're done with those two pieces and you brought it down from the 100 to 220 to 320, this is what you're going to want to do, okay? You're going to want to spray on a nice primer, regardless of if you're wrapping it with vinyl, wrapping it with cloth, or you're going to be painting it like I did this one here. You're going to want to put a primer on it. What the primer is going to do is it's going to fill all the little holes. It's going to give you something to bond to. It'll give you the paint to bond, something to bond to. It'll give the adhesive something to bond to. When you're going to primer and paint a project like this, I recommend that you go to the auto body shop and get a real top quality paint like a PPG or a Glazerith, something that's going to require a catalyst. Spray it on real nice, clear coat it if you need to, and this is your end result. It's a beautiful product. And I'll show you some more photos of some of the end results that we have. Now that we're done with this, let's check on the first project that we worked on this morning and see how it's doing here. This is our spare tire well. Okay, you remember doing this? Hard as a rock, and it's only been, I don't have a watch on, but it's probably been about an hour. With the mold release wax or the PVA or our new release film, you'll be able to pull this product out without a problem. There we go. Okay. And it's hard as a rock. Okay, now what you're ready to do with this product is what you want to do is trim around the edges to obviously get all the excess material off of it and make it nice and flat so you can put the baffle board on it. I have one already trimmed, and this is what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, I got a few little sand marks in it, brought it down nice and flat, and what you're going to want to do is make the baffle board for it. And basically what I did is I took a 3/4 inch piece of MDF and our rabbiting bit. This is our rabbiting bit. Comes with 5 bearings, and what that would allow you to do is it'll allow you to rabbit 3/8 of an inch all the way to 3/4 of an inch, depending on what you're working on. What I did on this piece is I rabbited here about 1/2 of an inch so that it'll fit right on the wheel well. Okay, and it'll fit nice and flush. Also, I rabbited the speakers so I can countersink the speakers. Okay. So what you're going to want to do at this point is you're going to want to take pieces of fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin and go around the trim and fiberglass them together. Depending on the size of the unit you're working on, you're going to want to put a center support. All you need is a piece of MDF, 2 to 3 inches long, all depending on the depth that you need. You're going to want to resin that to the bottom and screw it in from the top. And that will be your fiberglass enclosure. And keep in mind, when you're working with something like this, you can always attach something like that right to the top of it. And then you have really something. You have a show quality installation. I want to thank you all for buying Select products. I wanted to also ask a favor of all of you. I've enclosed a suggestion and comment card with the video. I need you to jot some things down, some of your ideas, maybe your comments. Obviously some mistakes that I've made so that we can improve on video number 2. Video number 2 is up in the air right now. We may do a fiberglass part 2, either a motorization, vinyl, carpet, and cloth. So I want your ideas, so please send them in to us. Thank you once again.